Welcome to the bow tier list. We're going to be rating the bows for True Zenoiran, how good they are in PvE mode. This isn't really for PvP. That would be a separate list. So we're going to start with these two because I just don't have them. They're pretty straightforward, so there's not really too much to evaluate. But let's start with the Carnelian bow. So for this one, I'm just going to switch the monitor, and then I'm going to do the overlay like normal. Alright, so the Carnelian bow. The Carnelian bow, I think, is A tier. It has good damage. It has good passive, like it gives you +1 action point, which is pretty huge. Alright, and then for the All-Minister bow, you have checkmate, accuracy +30, max damage. Just that, I would say, is deserving of like low S, but you also get this attack that basically gives you 250 potency versus 50%. It also inflicts passive seal and it's unguardable. It's a decent attack. You can just set it to be 250 or 50% HP or less, so that you always get a huge spike on single targets. Could be useful against bosses too, but the stats are decent enough that's +30 hits, max damage. Now it does cost you 1,000 Colosseum coins, so depending on how much you PvP, they could be better or worse, so I'll put it in A tier. Just switch this off. There will be music once I think this is a little bit better because it's cheaper. Alright, so now we'll switch to the inventory. Then I'll do the overlay like normal. Okay, and then we just do the filter. Cool. We take this bad boy, shrink it down, put it in the corner. Alright, so the bronze bow. Definitely something you want to replace immediately. There's just, everything is better, so you don't want to keep it for longer than a few missions. You just upgrade it. The recruit short bow, kind of similar. You just use it early game, and you will get better things pretty quickly, like poison bow, burning bow. These are immediately better. They do more damage because of the conditions, and they have like similar stats. And then we have the iron bow. Let's do Baroque next, actually. The Baroque bow, so accuracy +5. I would say this is still bad because you get pretty decent bows early on that have damage over time effects that actually can deal significant damage and help you kill armors, help you kill bosses. So this is just like a filler bow until you get something better. Iron bow, I would say, is kind of similar. It's just not competitive with the other early game bows. There's like really no reason to run it. There's just better options. Let's see, Black Iron bow. Black Iron bow is decent. It has like decent might and a little bit of crits. This is like your first okay bow, I would say. Most of these are stepping stones, but this is a stepping stone that's actually a little bit more competitive because it has a little bit more might on it. But the crit rate is also nice to have, especially when you stack crits, because early game you cannot get true crits very easily, so getting any bit of crit can help. Karnat, I would say similar. It's another stepping stone bow that's actually more competitive with other options. You also get initiative. This is pretty valuable. Initiative is always good. Then we have the Greatwood bow. This is mostly used on Elven Archer. You get hybrid damage, which is critical for their attacks. Its stats are decent. It also gives a little bit of magic defense. I would say this is just like C tier. There's better options for Elven Archer, but this is not a bad option, or not a bad weapon. Steel bow. So another stepping stone bow. 22 attack is decent. I do think by the time you get this, there are significantly better things, but it's still a stepping stone bow that's decent, so I'll put it in like higher C tier because it's almost max damage, but it has no other attributes, and you'll quickly find that bows have a lot of different unique attacks and attributes. Unlike axes, no, just trash talking axes. All right, spell steel bow. So this is the Greatwood bow, but better. I think this is actually decent for hybrid attackers. You can get it fairly early. It has a little bit better stats. It's not bad. There's better options, but it's a respectable thing. It has decent stats for what it does. It's a stepping stone bow into something better, but you could upgrade it if you want. You could also upgrade the other bow. Now if you upgrade either, I kind of don't recommend that. There's better options, so I just recommend just using it as a stepping stone and then switching off of it. Vorpal bow. So this is actually quite good. It's almost max. You get 3 initiative, which is huge. That could be the difference between hitting an enemy before they hit you or not, and you also get some HP. This is just a strong bow. I don't recommend upgrading it because it's just 2 damage, but this is like one of the better stepping stone bows where as you upgrade it, this is almost a max weapon, so it's pretty decent. And then we have the Dragon Bone bow. This actually isn't too bad if you're running like some kind of pursuit build, which can be valuable because you can shoot like enemy flyers and stuff with pursuit, and this gives you a passive point. I would say anything that gives you passive points is at least C tier. This bow in particular, I'll put it in low B. I feel like it has value early on with archers. Some archers can be made to be fast, so the initiative -10 doesn't matter as much. But typically you'll want to like tailwind them or run plumes on them or something like that. But the extra passive point can matter, especially for True Strike on snipers and things like this. So it's decent. Thorn bow, I don't think it's really worth it, but I'll put it in C tier. It's not like bad. You shouldn't really be getting hit that much as an archer anyways. I'll put it like middle of C tier. But losing max HP, you can die to assists easily, which is just a pain. So you typically don't want to lose max HP if you're already... Like, they kind of have average HP, so it's not as painful as losing HP on like a wizard or a witch or something, but it's still something you don't want to do. Icefall bow, guard rate -20, passive point +1. I think this is just fine. I would put this like here, like middle of B. It's basically like you don't really guard much on archers, unlike archer classes anyways. You typically evade, so this is not really a downside. You do get it kind of late, but it's decent for what it is. It's like a slightly better dragon bone. Wing crest. This is you get in the angel lands. You lose crit. This one I'm gonna put low B. I still think it's good. You get it super late because it's like as with all wing crest weapons. But losing crit on this class is kind of bad. Unless you're true critting, in which case it can be fine, but there are definitely better options by the time you get here. It's serviceable, it's not terrible, it's almost max damage, it gives you a passive point. It's relatively accessible. Alright, Watchman's Longbow. Now unfortunately, I think these look exactly the same. So one of these is the worst one, but neither of these is really bad. Blindness immunity, Eagle Eye, accuracy +10. This is at least like high B tier, and then the upgraded version that's accuracy +20 and 21 is at least like low A tier. The reason for this is blindness immunity is great for fighting those blindness archers, the feather bows. They apply blindness when you attack them as a passive to a row. So this just helps you hit through that. You also gain Eagle Eye on any archer class, especially ones that do not have it. So these are just great for hit fixing through the accuracy, hit fixing through the True Strike, and ignoring blind through the blindness immunity. Alright, Templar's bow. I know a lot of people go hard in the paint for Templars, so we'll make sure to include them. Guard rates, this is terrible, don't get this. Don't waste your money on this, this is not, your angel shards rather, this is not worth it. It's similar might to Iron Bow, you get guard rate which you don't need, and it's just a waste of resources. Phantom Knight's bow. You get this for free from the auxiliaries. It has an okay attack, 120 potency attack, magic defense. It is magic though, it's a magic attack. So it could be useful for poking armors. I'll put this in low C tier, at least has a use case. There's not like a runic bow necessarily, so maybe it's a little bit better than C, but I don't think it's really super valuable. Zenoiran bow, this just makes you tankier. I don't think this is worth it. It's better than these. It's like high D tier, but I don't think it's worth it. This one, I'll put this in like low C. Increasing tanking on archers is not something they typically want. They usually want crits, damage, evasion, initiative, things like this, so that you can act faster, hit more accurately, kill things with crits, deal more damage. So increasing tanking on them doesn't really matter, and they're not really meant to get hit. They usually want to evade or have someone cover for them or have something reduce damage on them. So typically they shouldn't be getting smacked and need bulk. Meteorite bow, kind of similar. This is a near max weapon. Max HP, guard rate is 20. I'm gonna honestly put this in like middle B. It's not really good. Its damage is good, but the passives, it's competing with things that have crazy passives, and durability on archers is not something that matters that much, in my experience. Alright, so we have Infamous Bow. Accuracy +50, crit rate -30. I don't think this is very good. Just accuracy +50 and 18 attack lands it. I think it's a little bit worse than Carnate Bow. Because the Carnet just gives you 2 initiative and 19 damage. That's better than accuracy plus 50. If you're true striking already, and on hybrid attackers like Elven Archer, it's not good, and on Unifi, you have way better options on Unifi. So it just falls off relative to other bows by the time you get it. Poison Arrow Viper's Bow. I would say this is like highest C tier. You could argue it's higher if you really value poison and you do like some kind of poison combo. Early game poison just does like kind of lower damage because it's percentage based, but late game it gets better. However, this bow has 11 physical attack, and the attack potency is only 100. It's also single target. So late game it's competing with crazy board nukes. Early game the damage on poison is lower. So it's kind of unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Then we have Flame Bow. Flame Bow I would say is also like here. It's decent early game. It's an upgrade. It's definitely better than these D tiers. And early game it does more damage than even a Carnet because you hit them for some might. You just have like 9 or 8 less physical attack, but then they get burned for 20 per attack, like per action. So typically it out damages the other bows, like the other just like basic might ones. So Salamander Great Bow, burn immunity, better attack, same flame arrow. Honestly, for late game, this is like C tier. It's not very good. There's way better things. You just are better off not running it. Thundering Bow, Shatter Strength, inflicts minus 40 physical attack. And it's also quite weak. I don't think this is worth it ever. I just don't think this is worth it. Debuffing a physical attacker could be valuable for tanking, but you're better off killing things. And in this game, it's really easy to kill things. So there's really no need for something like this. Or did I place the wrong one? Hold on, I think I placed the Starless Bow. Actually, I think I'm fine with that. Shadow Arrow, Inflict Blindness. I would put that also in D tier. I don't think either of those really do anything useful. Their damage is too low, their effect is single target, there's better shutdown. It's just not very competitive. Thundering Strongbow. Crit rate plus 20, accuracy plus 5, 21 damage, so those are decent stats. Shatter Strength, attack a single enemy for 150, inflicts minus 75% physical. So just for accuracy plus 5 and 20 crit, I would put this in like middle B tier, because crit rate gets you damage, and damage is good. It's almost max, it gets you 20 crits, and it gets you plus 5 accuracy. And it has an attack you can use if you want it for a little bit more potency, if the class is lacking potency. But most of these classes have decent, like 100 to 150 potency attacks, some multi-hits and stuff like this. Piercing Bow, Armor Shatter. I don't think this is very good. It just does 100 potency, minus 30% physical defense, not really the best. Then we have Piercing Strongbow. Or I just did that. Oh, these are almost identical. They look similar. That's why they look similar, and they have the same stats. Armor Shatter. Inflicts physical defense minus 50% on a spike. That's like a little bit better than this, I think. Helps you kill faster. It's similar. It's like almost identical to that. I wouldn't really be using these for their attack primarily. Then we have Spell Seal Bow, Magic Shatter. So this one's interesting. Attack a row of enemies. A row attack that inflicts magic minus 50% for 75 potency. Now, you don't care about the magic minus 50. You want to kill a row of mages, basically. And this has okay might. I'm going to put this in low B tier just for the row attack. That's decent. That's a combo piece, especially if you're on a class that lacks like a big row attack. Then you have Pheasant Bow, Passive Shatter. Attack a single enemy for low damage, inflicts passive point minus 1. Maybe it's situationally useful against like a specific boss or something, but there's always passive steal, which is significantly better. So, kind of just outclassed by that. The Interrogator's Bow. So, passive point plus 1 with no downside, magic defense plus 3, 16 attacks, that's on the lower side for attack. Activates after enemy uses healing magic, attack a single enemy for 100 potency, ignores 30% of their defense unguardable. This, I would say, is at least like here. It's at least C tier. Well, actually, maybe it's low B. We'll give it low B, because it gives you a passive point, and it has a unique effect that could hit something quickly if an enemy heals, especially like early to middle game where you don't have solid comps that stomp super quickly. Which you still can get them, but let's assume that you don't. And then the Inquisitor, so this is the same thing, but better. Honestly, this is... I'd say high B tier. Say like here. I mean, it just gives you passive point and 21 might, worst case scenario, and some magic defense. And then it also has this, which is decent. Yeah, I could see that being useful. Also consider that it uses passive to deal damage here, which could be valuable. Now you're not always going to be fighting healers, but when you are, I would say like 30 to 50% of the time enemy groups have a healer in them, so it's pretty good in that way. Bow of Swiftness, no passives, just an ability. 16 attack, passive shot, rapid shot. Activates at the start of battle, attack a single enemy with first strike, inflicts stun. I mean, this could be useful for shutting something down, so I'll put it low C tier, but beyond that, there's better at the start of battle effects for sure. Silver Moon Bow, Beast Slayer, attack a row of enemies, and it does a ton of damage and debuffs to Beast Trolls. I mean, it's good against Beast Trolls. Its damage is okay. I'll put it in like low C. There's definitely better options, because by the time you get this, you're in Bastorius, and 19 physical attack is weaker than like everything. Like Karnat is stronger than this stats-wise, because it also gives initiative. And of course Vorpal is much stronger than this. But the effect could be situationally useful in Bastorius, and then afterwards you can drop it. So, it's like a decent thing. Alright, the Crane Bow. Initiative +5, 22 attack, so even that's decent. Triple Shatter. This is actually kind of interesting. Attack 3 enemies, inflicts physical and magical attack -50%. This is almost like a Shaman attack. Like if Shaman could attack. I actually think this is quite good. I'm gonna put this here. This, because it does two things. It significantly reduces enemy damage, and you could also have it, you can set it up, you can set your conditions so that it targets 3 enemies in different rows, potentially. Now, I don't know that you can get as specific as isolating 3 unique enemies out, but you could have like prioritize casters, so if there's like 2 casters in the back, it hits those, and then you could have like prioritize something else, like some other threat, maybe like infantry or whatever. I mean, most things are infantry, but you could set up your rules so that it actually targets like specific things and then debuffs them, or you can just do like front row, back row, stuff like that. You could do like prioritize front row, and then if there's only 2 in the front, I think the third would just like fly to the back, and then you could have a second thing. So this has some interesting properties, because it's 150 potency total. It's a debuff. It's basically like offensive curse that does damage. It's kind of good, and the initiative +5 and the damage is actually quite good on it. So it's a pretty good, interesting utility bow. General's Bow, base passive point +1, 17 damage. Activates after ally is attacked with an active skill. Buff a row of allies. Grants +20% attack and +40% crit rates to flying allies. So, I don't like things that activate after you're attacked, but it does give you passive point. I'll put it like here. It seems like it could be decent. It's situational, but 20% attack is a lot of damage, and 40% crit rate is a pretty big deal if you can get this to proc. So it could be good if you have like an evasion tank. Now you have to get attacked. Oh no, after an ally's attack. Never mind. With an active skill. That could be good actually. That could be good. All right, Trapper's Warbow. Max HP +15, initiative +5, 20. Just for the initiative and the damage and the health, especially the initiative and the damage, I'd put this high. But it also gives you a board nuke that has 180 potency that hits 3 times. It has 80 hit rate, but you can easily just use a true attack thing. Like there's a lot of true strike stuff Arch already has built in, so it's typically not a problem. It's easy to give it true strike. But also you would impetus this. I would say this is low S tier. I think that's fair. It allows any archer class to deal pretty significant damage. It's a cheap board nuke that does good damage, so it's hard to say it's bad. Alright, the Galean Crossbow. Accuracy +10, crit damage +30, 21 attack, so almost max damage. It gives you more crit damage, which is significant. Attack a column of enemies with a piercing strike. It also has a column attack that's unguardable. I'm gonna put this in low S. I think that's fair. Crit damage is a lot. Like, so the way it works is if you were to deal 100 and you crit, you deal 150. With +30 crit damage, you deal 180. it adds the percentage directly. So if it's like, if normal crit is 50% modifier, it adds 30 to it and becomes 80. So it actually scales damage quite significantly. So if you true strike, true crit, you are dealing a ton of damage with this, and if you multi-hit as well, and it has a built-in multi-hit regardless of class, this is pretty decent. It has a lot going on. It also gives you a little bit of accuracy, which is nice. Sanguine Bow, you have to buy this from the black market. Honestly, don't buy it. It's a waste of money. It could be switched to temporarily to heal if you don't have good healers in a group for whatever reason. There's definitely better ways of healing generically, like using first aid kit and large aid kit, but you can switch to this to heal. It's just, by the time you get it, I'm pretty sure you get it at the end of Drakenhold. You have to fix the stupid bridge, which takes forever because wood is just so hard to get in that region. So by the time you enter Elf Lands is when you can get this. It's just not very good, I don't think. Great Wood Spirit Bow. Basically just an upgrade to the Spirit Bow. I'll put it like here. Just a little bit better. You could argue it's higher. Maybe, is that Spell Steal? You could argue it's like wherever Spell Steal is. I want to say that's Spell Steal. Let's put it next to Spell Steal. Assuming this is Spell Steal, not this. But it's at least, I mean, it has decent hybrid stats and magic defense +5. It's decent. And you get one from the blonde archer lady that joins you in the Elven region. Alright, Desert Bow. Crit rate +10, accuracy +20. That's not bad. I'll put it in like high B, or high C rather. The damage is too low. I do think you get it early. I'm pretty sure you get trappers early too though, so it's kind of hard to compete with that. It's kind of hard to compete with 180 potency board nuke. It's kind of difficult. All right, this thing is really good. This is Unifi's Joining Bow. Evasion 20, crit rate 15, and near max damage. Evasion 20 is something that archers actually want because they're naturally evasive, and crit rate is also something that they want so that they can just deal more damage, and then of course it's near max. So it helps you survive, it helps you kill, and it's almost max damage. You can upgrade it if you want to for the extra 4 damage, but you do not need to. Woodpecker. This one is also interesting. Super close to max damage, crit damage +30, stun immunity, spiked bolt, attack a single target with multiple hits. So this is a 200 potency attack, and if you like conferral this, it would become a 400 potency attack. Assuming that that's how conferral works. I'm pretty sure that is how conferral works, but if not, definitely correct me in the comments. But crit damage, stun immunity, near max damage. I would say this is low S. It's pretty strong. It's only usable, the crossbows are only usable on shield shooters, but shield shooters are very durable. They can also block, so if you really want them to, usually just have them be evasion tanks with Mirage Shield or something. Alright. King's Bow Basteric. So this is definitely one of the best bows. All stats +5, max damage. It's great with literally everything. It's even good on hybrid attackers because it also gives you 5 more. It gives you total 35 attack, 20 or 30 physical, and 5 magic. It also gives you like crit, hit rates, initiative. It's hard to compete with all stats weapons. They're just insanely good. And then the Apeliotis's bow. Let's see if I got that right. Base AP +1, initiative, evasion, max damage. I would say it's like tied with this thing. These weapons are insane. Initiative and evasion are very good stats, and of course AP +1. Like you just can't beat that. You can in some cases, but you typically won't. All right. And then we have the Quince Bow, base PP +1, HP recovery +30. This is honestly also just like high S, or like mid S, I would say. It's not as good as these, but it's still quite strong. It's still a max damage weapon for free with passive point +1, and you get healed for more, so that can be valuable. And then finally we have the Sacral Bow. Affliction immunity, max damage, heal 20% HP when using active skill. Definitely like high S tier. So here are the bows. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's see them a little bit better maybe. Roll up. There you go. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this useful, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.